Alright, so today we're going to talk about solving quadratic equations by using quadratic formulas. Sometimes there's just no way of factoring or finding what the solution is, where that graph crosses x exactly, except for this. And this is how you solve a quadratic equation, right? And here's the formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and it's all over 2a. Alright, and this is quadratic formula. You use this to solve any quadratic equation. It'll give you the answer every time. Alright, like even if you weren't able to factor it, that kind of thing, this is what will allow you to figure it out. So write this down. So it's going to give you a problem, and it may or not be in quadratic equation. And it's going to say solve by using a formula. So here it says solve x squared minus 12x equals negative 20. Before you can solve, it always has to be equal to something. What does it need to be equal to?
0.
0. You always have to set it equal to 0. So you need to add 20 to both sides. Because what you're doing is you're trying to find where it crosses the x-axis. Well, the y-coordinate would need to be 0 to find where the x crosses. So you always set it equal to 0. So you move everything, do what you got to do to move it equal to 0. And then really all you got to do is identify your A, your B, and your C and plug them into this formula. So the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and it's all over 2a. So you plug in all your numbers. You got negative b is negative 12, plus or minus the square root of b squared, so negative 12 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 20, all over 2a, which a is 1. And if you're confused, remember quadratic equation. Here's the parent function. It's ax squared plus bx plus c. All right, so that would tell you where a, b, and c are. So now I'm just going to simplify. I'm going to work out as much as possible. So negative 12 would just be 12 plus or minus the square root of negative 12 squared. Negative 12 squared is 144. Because negative 12 times negative 12 is 144. Then I subtract 4 times 1 times 20, which is 80. And I'm going to divide all that by 2. Well, 144 minus 80 is 64. What is the square root of 64? 8. So, which I'm trying to find some room to write it. Alright, 12 plus or minus 8 over 2. So what you have to do is you have to work out both of them. You have to do 12 plus 8 divided by 2, and you have to do 12 minus 8 divided by 2. Because remember, when you do square roots, alright, the square root of 64 is positive 8 and it's negative 8. That's why you have to do both. So 12 plus 8 is 20. 20 divided by 2 is 10. And then do 12 minus 8, which is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So there's your two answers. There's your two solutions. It crosses the x-axis at 2 and at 10. So again, rewrite this, getting it in quadratic function to where x is, or 0 is on one side. To do that, I would subtract 18 to both sides. So I'd have 2x squared plus 9x minus 18, which is equal to 0. So that's A, that's B, and that's C. So plug them into negative B plus or minus the square root of b squared, minus 4ac all over 2a. So negative 9 plus or minus the square root, b squared, b is 9, so 9 squared minus 4 times 2, because that's what a is, times c, which is negative 18, all over 2 times a, which a is 2. So now you just simplify, you just work out as much as possible. So negative 9 plus or minus 9 squared is 81, minus 4 times 2 times negative 18, so 8 times 18 is 144. Right, so 81 minus negative 144 all over 4. Well, I got two negatives side by side, so I'm going to add. 81 plus 144 is 225. And it's all over 4. What's the square root of 225? Nope. What do you think? Square root of 225.
5.
Not 5. That's 25. 15. It's 15, which I don't need the square root sign anymore. Okay, because I worked it out. So all over 4. So I'm going to do negative 9 plus 15 over 4, and I'm going to do negative 9 minus 15 over 4. Negative 9 plus 15, it'd be 6. 6 divided by 4. All right, I'm going to leave as a fraction. I'm going to leave it as 3 over 2. Negative 9 minus 15 gives you negative 24. Negative 24 divided by 4 gives you negative 6. So there's your two answers, negative 6 and 3 over 2. Alright, so we got 3x squared plus 5x minus 12. So I'm plugging it into quadratic formula, which is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I just plug in, here's my a, here's my b, and here's my c. So negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 12 all over 2 times 3. So negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 times 3 times 12. 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 12 is 144. So minus negative 144 all over 6, which make two negatives make a positive. So I just add 144 and 25. Negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 169 all over 6. Does anyone know what square root of 169 is? It's 13. Okay. And then I divide that by 6. So I do negative 5 plus 13 over 6, and I do negative 5 minus 13 over 6. Negative 5 plus 13 is what?
8.
Okay, 8. 8 over 6 reduces to 4/3. Okay? And you can just leave it as an improper fraction. I'm not worried about it. Negative 5 minus 13 is negative 18. Negative 18 divided by 6 is negative 3. So there's your two answers, 4/3 and negative 3.